we want to create the same thing that Kerbal did and inspire the next generation, right? So one of the great things I got out of working on Kerbal was reading about people like, I loved Kerbal so much that I went on and I learned astrophysics, and now I'm working for NASA, or now I'm working for ESA, or now I'm working for SpaceX, or whatever. It's like, wow, like we inspired people that much. And
Yeah.
that's what we hope to do with this. And the Dean's idea is that he wants this to be free so that he can put it in schools. That's what we would love to do, right? But of course, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But hopefully, yeah.
Welcome to Chaos in the Lobby. I'm Spoony Bard, and with me today is Jamie Leighton, aka JPLRepo, who is one of the few people who has worked on Kerbal Space Program, Kerbal Space Program 2, and now the spiritual successor, Kitten Space Agency. So, Jamie, welcome, and thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
There's been a lot of people who, like, you want it to work. They really, really do, because the idea is great. You know, it doesn't have DRM, it doesn't have any specific APIs that would lock it into a certain ecosystem. And you can just put it on a flash drive and give it to a friend who maybe doesn't have internet access, or
Yep.
are what were your feelings when you first heard about the contributions model, and the fact that it won't be on Steam? Is that something that made you nervous, or?
Uh, I understand Dean's love of Steam. Um, that was sarcasm.
Yep.
Uh, honestly, feel the same way. Steam takes 30%.
It's a lot.
None of people know that, right? So for every sale that you buy a game for, I don't know, $30, $40, whatever it is, 30% of that goes straight to Valve, before anyone else. Um,
Yeah.
I feel like they've created a monopoly. Yeah, and there are alternatives out there, but Steam's created a monopoly. Um, I was a bit nervous. I am still a bit nervous, but I'm hoping that it works. I see what Dee's trying to do. I hope it really works. Yeah, I think the games industry can't survive the way it is now. Um, you know, I made a lot of friends working at private division Intercept Games. Half of them still don't have jobs,
Yeah.
right? That's how tough it is. It's really tough. I got really lucky. Dean reached out to me. I live across, we call it the pond. We live across the pond, and yeah, it worked out great. But a lot of people are still having a hard time, applying for hundreds of jobs and not even getting a response. It's really
Yeah.
tough.
Kind of soul
I really
crushing.
feel
Yeah.
bad. Yeah, it is. It really is soul crushing. Yeah.
Yeah. And the industry has changed, I mean, a lot. Like you said, over the last 10 or 15 years, it's a different landscape. And
Mm.
especially now that with Unity and Unreal, the barrier to entry for creating a game has been lowered. And
Yep.
Nate has been, I think it's still in development, this game, Pan Galactic Postal Service. And he was mentioning, when they went into Steam early, or when they went into the Next Fest, that they had to compete with thousands of other games that were coming out in that Next Fest. And it does make you think, okay, of those thousands of games, how many will make it? And so, how many small indie developers, how many small studios don't have the marketing budgets, don't have, money for a team of 50 people to get the word out? And it does make, like you said, how can it survive in this when, there are
Yep.
Take-Two and these other massive conglomerates that are going to kind of crush all those little indie developers? And yeah, that's too bad. That sucks. And so I
I
agree.
think
I'd
for
love to see this
yeah,
work.
I think for the AAA budget games, things won't probably change a lot. But for all these indie developers, yeah, Steam's, yeah, I see the point. It's wide reaching. Everyone seems to love it. I don't know why, because it makes life easy, I suppose. You can go there and find the game you want and whatever. But yeah, uh, I've started growing my non-Steam library of late. Um, and there are plenty of places where you can get these games, not just Steam. Um, but yeah, uh, let's see what happens. I mean,
It's an
I would
interesting
love to
problem
think
because
that,
before Steam, there was the big issue of piracy, and piracy was kind
yeah,
of destroying the gaming industry because, well, if people are just going to steal it, why develop it? So then I think Gabe Newell, I think he rightfully said that, piracy was an issue in this case of access. And it kind of did reduce piracy when Steam came out. And
yeah,
now you've got another set of problems created by that.
yeah,
And it's this problem of access where there's just so much to access that, sometimes a small indie game wins the lottery and
yeah,
takes off. But
yeah, exactly. And just being able to be seen on Steam when there's so many titles, yeah, that's the real challenge, isn't it? Um, yeah, and it's such a fickle industry too. Since I started working in it, and it's not that long of my career. Like what? I worked 30 years in IT and always had a pretty comfortable job where I felt like my job was fairly secure until I moved on to the next one. Whereas in the games industry, you really have no idea how long it's going to last at all. Um, yeah, it's really fickle and tough. Um, yeah,
yeah.
I'm sort of towards the end of my career, so to me, it's like, yeah, I'm just enjoying doing what I'm doing. I'm really enjoying doing this KSA. Um, Getting to do it all over again without all the baggage. Um, Learned from what we did in KSP 1 and 2, applying those learnings as well as all the learnings that Dean's team already has. Like there's a lot of talented people that he's got working for him. Um,
Yeah.
and I think we can really achieve something here with this KSA. Um, I really hope yeah, I really hope it'll take off.
Well, I think the progress you
I'd
guys have
love
made
to.
in this first year has blown everybody away, honestly, because there's been games in development for 4 years that haven't accomplished what KSA has managed to accomplish in this span of time. So I
Mm.
think everybody's very impressed with what's been done and very hopeful. Like you said, there's a ton of really talented people uh, that we know, and some I'm sure that we don't know that we haven't heard of that are behind the scenes. Because for every one thing, I do those monthly update videos, and for every
Yep.
one thing you can show, there's probably 10 things that are happening under the hood that you can't
Hmm.
show off. So yeah, but
It's
right
still a
now,
fairly small team, though. I mean,
yeah.
there's not a lot. Um, there's probably I'm not really sure. I think I counted. We had our steering committee yesterday. I think there was about 18 people in the steering committee meeting, but that included Arwu. They come along to listen in. So there's probably two or three or four people in that 18 that were just like listening in from senior management or from Arwu. Um, so there's probably only about a dozen to 15 people working on it, I guess,
I mean,
roughly.
honestly, that makes it even more impressive, honestly, that it's come this
But
far
it's
in that
also
amount of
like
time.
it's hard, but you know, um, you can really achieve things quite easily, a lot without all of the overhead. Um, and now that I've been working with what we've got brutal for what 18 months now for me, I'm probably the longest that's been on the project because I started. It was just me and Dean, July last year, not this year, 2024.
Oh,
It
so
was
you were
just
the
me and Dean
very first
really
employee that was
working on
working
it. Yeah,
specifically on this. Yeah.
pretty much. I think so. Yeah, yeah, I think so. It was just me on my lonesome. And Dean was doing some work as well, but then Dean he time shifts his time on all the different projects. Icarus, Stationeers, um, and Torpedia, and what else that they've got happening out of the rail and so on. So he time shifts around. Uh, but yeah, spent a long time building the foundations for 12 months. Stefan, I think, came on start of this year. I think he's been great. He's been a great find.
And for those who don't know,
All of his.
Stefan Molliff is an actual rocket scientist, basically, who's been
Yeah,
brought on to
he
help
worked
with
for
the physics.
SpaceX. Yeah, yeah. Now he's taken on all the physics, and I'm quite happy to just go. Yeah, you can go right ahead. Uh, I did. I did computer science and mathematics major. Um, at university myself, but I didn't do astrophysics or anything like that. And that was a long time ago, probably before a lot of your listeners were even born. We're talking when I go to university, 1980s, just to give you an idea how old I am. So, um, yes, I did do mathematics and computer science, but it was a very long time ago. And I haven't been back to school, but I've just learnt from life working in IT for that long. Uh, but yeah, he's been great. He wants to, he's taken on a lot of the physics challenge. I built I built a lot of the groundwork, built the Kepler simulation, um, and I've been working on a bunch of other things, the transfer planner, the patch conics system, the orbital mechanics. So I built most of that. Stefan chipped in a bit before he started building all the physics stuff. Um, yeah, it's been great. I mean, hoping that it gets more interest, and then we can sort of grow the team a bit more, even potentially.
Yeah, what's been the feeling so far about the success of the contributions model? Because it's, I think last time I checked, I think it was about 110,000, which is really
That's
great for a couple
amazing.
weeks. Yeah,
It's only been what? Yeah, it hasn't even been a month, right?
hasn't even
That's
been a
great.
month. Yeah,
I mean, when you think about, I saw you talking to Shadow Zone. Yeah, when you think about the cost, though, it's not a lot. It's not even one dev, but it's a lot more than I guess I was expecting. So I'm pretty happy. Like given what you can actually do in the game right now, it's not a lot, right? It's really a tech demo. You can't
yeah.
really do a lot of. There's no real gameplay um, to speak. But I mean, we're working on that. So like, the next thing right now we're working on being able to create vessels and put the parts together and all the systems that go into that. I just finished doing the fuel system last week, put that in. So now propellant is all stored in the tanks, whereas before it was just like one number on the vessel. It was all fake, right? So now it's okay, put it all in the tanks, and then the engine draws it from the tanks, not in any particular order. So the next step is now it needs to do it in the right order. So, I've broken it down. I've got a list of 10 steps, and I'll think I'm up to step 4 in my list, right? So, yeah, get next is okay, fuel flow, priorities, stages, where can I get fuel from, that kind of thing. Um, I built all that in KSP2, so I'm not building the same thing. I've learned from what I got wrong. So the resource system in KSP2 when it first got released as early access was horrendous. It was probably half the reason why the performance was so bad. Um, it was terrible, and myself and Chris rewrote it, um, and that's Natia. And it was much better in the For Science release. Uh, but it still had work to do. And so I've taken a lot of those learnings from away from that. And then, Dean's team even has some guys from Stationeers. If you played Stationeers, like their resource system is amazing as well. So I've been looking at that and talking to the guys that worked on that as well to, okay, what can we learn from that? Even though it's written in Unity, the logic structures and whatnot, and the way it goes about doing things. What can we learn from that as well? So yeah, I've been looking into that. So we're trying to get all the parts working, get all those systems working. While I've been doing that, Stefan's been doing. I think he just committed yesterday or the day before. So the mass now goes into the parts, whereas before it was just one blob, um, and the vehicle was just one sort of mass. Now it's individual masses. Um, and so we're working through that bit by bit. So what bits now that were just made up blobs at the vessel in the vehicle, now we've got to break it all down into parts. And then while we're doing that, um, Morrow's building the editor to plonk parts together and stuff like that, right? So we've got he's doing that, and then Simon's building the parts. He's the art guy. He's creating some amazing work as well, right? Um, yeah. So we've got all that coming together. So right now we're driving towards being able to build a vehicle, put the parts together. I'm building a thing for Dean so that you can. We've got those pre-canned vehicles, but also you can create vehicles too now and save them out and reload them actually. So I've already built that, and then Dean's going to build a little UI so that you can sort of, okay, take an instance of Rocket and put it on the launch pad at Cape Canaveral, even though there's no launch pad there yet, but spawn it there. So that's kind of what we want to get to is like, I want to be able to spawn a rocket on the ground and then fly it sort of thing. So, and have the parts eventually break apart and have explosions because we've got no explosions yet. And I love explosions, right?
Yeah.
So, um, but that's what we're sort of driving towards next. So you've got a bit more gameplay, right? Because so we're looking at what are all the essential things and do all the hard stuff first, and then all the fun stuff will come later, right? So things like your supply lines and your resources and your trips to Mars, and so all that gameplay element, tech trees or whatever we end up doing. We've got some different ideas on that we've spoken about. Yeah, and the game modes and game, yeah. So like that'll all come. Right now, we're just trying to focus on all the really hard stuff and doing that up front. And I think that's paid off, right? Because look how quickly we've got something out there. You can actually fly these things around already, um, even though they're pre-canned vehicles, right? But yeah, the next part is be able to create your own monstrosities, which is half of what Kerbal was about, right?
Absolutely. Well, what's really impressed me is when the game was first announced, and I think Dean in the first town hall that you guys did, he mentioned somebody had asked, "Well, when are we going to get a public release?" And he mentioned, "Oh, by the end of the year." And when I heard that, I was like, "Okay." I was like, "Sure, hopefully." I was like, but I at the time was apprehensive that you'd go from announcement to release of a public build in 12 months, but I mean, it happened, and the game is really fun. Like you said, right now it's somewhere between a tech demo and a pre-alpha version of the game. But
Yep.
what's already out there is already fun to play around with and fly to the different planets and play with the transfers, and it's impressive. But of all those features that were mentioned, like colonies, multiplayer, interstellar, is there one that you're like really excited about, or just all of them, really?
All of them, really. I mean, Dean, he's the signals officer from the Air Force. He wants to start building comms networks and stuff, so he can go right ahead. I love that kind of thing. Like
So do
when
I.
I
Yeah.
Kerbal, for me, Kerbal was I got really into the realism part, so RSS and stuff like that. But yeah, I think IVAs I'm really excited for. And I know Simon's actually started blocking some out. Um, so yeah, because I really used to love flying in IVA, and I used to have that mod uh, RPM to put little video screens in the inside the cockpit, and being able to actually fly it from inside the cockpit. I'm really excited when we can have IVA, I think, and actually have the Kerbals. I mean the kittens, the Kerbals. You got me saying
It's
Kerbal.
the K sound. It's a K sound. It
Uh,
throws me off too.
uh, the kittens are just yeah. I've seen you talk about it. Like I think the kittens look great. They grew. At
Yeah.
first, I was like, this is not going to work. I don't like it. I really
People
didn't.
have had a real
But
love-hate relationship with the
um,
kittens.
yeah, I didn't think it was going to work, but I think they've grown on me now. I think I like how they've sort of evolved, and
Yeah.
I think they're going to work. Really. I think they add that extra element, like the Kerbals. They're maybe not. I mean, they'll grow on us. I think. I mean, we've spent so long with the Kerbals, right? It's going to take a while, but I think it's better than like games like Juno that I've played, where it's just like this robot, really, like nameless, faceless robot, right?
Yeah, that you're not
Yeah,
attached
they've
to
got
at
to have
all.
some.
Yeah.
No, no. That was one of the key things, right, about KSP was the Kerbals, and you loved them, and you didn't want to kill them, and you go out of your way to go rescue them when they got stranded, right? Even though it meant nothing, but you would. I remember creating missions to go rescue, you know, Jeb from the Mun or whatever, wherever he ended up to crashing. Yeah,
Or you
I mean
didn't
that
leave
was
it,
part of.
you didn't include enough fuel, so he's stuck in orbit around Minimus. So now I gotta go get him. And I agree, that was one of my
Exactly.
favorite parts is designing the ship. It was designing the rescue ship, which I had to do more often than not because I was never great
Yep.
about calculating my delta V and like making sure. I would just kind of be like, oh, there's enough boosters on here. We'll get there.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's it. Yeah. Yeah,
it-
yeah. One of the biggest challenges, right, was a rescue mission to Eve. That was always the biggest challenge, right?
yeah,
Yeah, because of
especially
the
if you're down on the
gravity.
surface,
Yeah,
it's tough.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think they'll grow on us. I think, and like Dean said, like if that's the thing that people are going to complain about, well, then we've done our job. Because if they're only complaining about the kittens, then that must mean the rest of it's doing really well.
And I
So,
And I don't think there could have been something that would have pleased everybody. Because like you said, everybody was very attached to the Kerbals and the idea of it being Kerbals, and everybody was
yeah,
already on the hype train for Kerbal Space Program too. So now with it not
yeah,
being Kerbal, somebody is going to have a problem with anything.
yeah,
What would you have chosen though if it wasn't Kittens?
yeah. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Um, it was,
I know Dean
yeah,
mentioned the
I
Kia, which is a like kind of a
a
mountain
bird
parrot.
though,
Yeah,
right? Yeah, but I can see all the animation challenges really. Yeah,
yeah,
so that's like, where's the tail? Well, it's easier if they don't have one.
right.
Was Dean's reply, right? It's like, well, let's just not have them. It's tucked inside the
Yeah,
suit,
it's in the suit.
right? You know, so what? And then I even saw one of the first mods was like the ear things on the helmet,
Yeah, that's right.
right?
I did see that.
Um, I did
Well, now
ask one of the
somebody's already
guys.
modded in. Somebody has already modded in Kerbals, of course. It was the very first thing I saw. I was like, of course it's gonna
I'd
be
assume they're not the actual Kerbal models because that would be an IP, a
right.
copyright
It doesn't
violation.
look
But
exactly like it does. It looks like
yeah,
you made one, but yeah, somebody was really upset. They were
yeah,
like, "Oh, they're gonna get sued," and I was like,
boo.
"Unless they're the ones putting it out, I don't think so. It's not like this is an
Rocketworks,
official."
no.
Yeah, right. They didn't
Yeah,
make it. Yeah, so
that's
I don't
right. That's got nothing to do with Rocketworks.
got
They're
nothing
not
to do with
distributing
Rocketwork.
it. They're not. That's it. No, it's
Yeah,
not being distributed by Rocketworks. It's got nothing to do with Rocketworks. That's
yeah. I
someone
think it
else
was
is doing
Shadow
it.
Zone who said that people had gotten a little bit of because she made a video sharing it, and people were like, "Don't share this. It's gonna get them in trouble." I was like, "Oh."
Nah, I don't think so.
Yeah,
That's
I
got
don't think
nothing
so
to do
either.
with
Yeah.
Rocketworks. No. And
Uh,
if that's what they want to do with mods, that's what they want to do with mods. Like, so
yeah,
be
that's
it.
the community, and yeah,
Exactly. It's got nothing to do with Rocketworks.
exactly. Yeah.
Um,
Are there upcoming features that maybe haven't been mentioned yet? You said there was a couple ideas for how science mode might work or different career modes. Are there any of these that are being talked about that you're able to share, or is that kind of still
it's so in its infancy that if I shared anything, then people would hold us to it. And then it's like,
fair?
but like we've only just had conversations roughly about some aspects of the game, and what we might end up building. And I can't actually show you. I was thinking, you know what? I'll just open up the little mission goals list that Dean and I had put together at the start, but I can't do that because it's on my Windows partition. So lately
Ah,
I have been running Linux. So I'm actually in my Linux partition right now. Um, because
fair
I've been
enough.
developing in Linux. And not to say that we're going to support Linux, but
I was gonna say Linux
I
users are
just
going to be
decided
really happy to hear that right
I'll
now.
get really excited about this, but it builds and it runs.
Yeah, several people have gotten
So
it
that
running in
was,
Linux already. So
but they're running the Windows version.
right.
I've actually built a native Linux build and it works, which is great. So will we do it in the end? Probably. When? Don't know. I've just been playing around with it. Like if it breaks, if it doesn't work, then I'll just switch back to Windows. But I've been using Linux for a couple of weeks now. It runs fine, runs perfectly.
People are going to be really excited because that is probably the number one thing that gets asked in my comments is, well, when is there a Linux version, or can I play it on Linux? And
It's interesting because percentages tell you otherwise, right? As far as how many players actually use Linux. I know we were having this conversation. I was talking to Felipe about this just the other day. Because I was like, oh, I just thought I'd play around. So I've got a dual boot set up, so I can just go back to Windows anytime. But I thought I'd just see if it worked, and it does, right? Oh, okay, well then I guess we could if we wanted to. I know there's problems on Mac at the moment, so that's a different story. But again, it's like the team, we want to focus on building the game rather than can it run on this platform, can it run on that platform. That can come later, right? So people are like, oh, when's it going to be? When is it going to be? Yeah, probably eventually, but like right now, that's not the focus, right? I mean, the focus right now is building the game. Then we can look at different platforms and stuff. I mean, some of the team use Macs, and myself and a couple of other guys too are using Linux. So we know it runs, right? If it stops working, then, we can go, well, why is that? And I might spend an hour going, oh, was it broken? But like if it takes me more than a couple of hours, then I'll have to go back to Windows, right? Because like, well, that's not the focus right now. The same thing's happened to Mac right now. The guys on Mac have had to go back to Windows because we're using Vulkan stuff that the Mac, forget the conversion layer that works to convert Vulkan into what's the Mac thing? Metal.
I'm going to be no
Some of the
help in this
functions,
department.
some of the functions that we're calling are broken, apparently. But that's like, okay, but apparently there's the next version up might fix that. So for now, it's broken, and we're not going to do anything about it. We'll just eventually, I guess, if we go up to the next Vulkan layer, and Mac will fix their driver kind of thing. But we're not going to spend time on it because that's just resource going in the wrong direction right now for where we're at. But yeah, percentages. I was talking to Felipe because it's like, he goes, yeah, you know what? This is just like KSP, in the early days. And we'd spend hours and hours fixing bugs that were only on Linux. And then we realized only 1% of our players run on Linux. And so we're burning all this time for 1% of the player base. And it sounds bad, but it's from an economic, business point of view, that doesn't make sense to spend that much time and effort when it's 1%.
But it is a vocal 1%.
They are, but yeah, you got to realize when you're on the minority, things will not happen as quickly because it's just not a priority just for that sake of, well, yeah, you're the minority. Yeah. 98% are running in Windows. So that's always going to be the case, regardless. Yeah. But not to say I don't like Linux. I love it, actually. It's really good. It's really good to develop in. I like the fact that Microsoft's not spying on me. But
it's not as bloated as Windows,
Yeah, and it's a lot smoother, and it's a lot, But
it has its downsides.
The reality is most users don't run Linux because it's kind of a niche thing. It's kind of a power user thing. That's my point of view.
Yeah,
it's power users or developers or people who work in IT. It's not Ma and Joe blogs from down the road that are running Linux. They're running Windows because that's all they know.
Yeah. Yeah, Linux is definitely not for people who don't want to troubleshoot, because if you run Linux, you're going to do some troubleshooting. So
yeah, and you got to know the command line. But hey, I grew up with DOS, and even earlier than that, so command lines don't scare me, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of people, it does scare them.
If you're enjoying this podcast, make sure to subscribe for more. And if you want to support me and my channel, you can do so through Patreon or by joining my channel here on YouTube, where you'll get members-only exclusives like early access to new episodes, members-only videos, and extras. Plus, you'll be helping me focus on getting my next guest and creating new content. So yeah, you created the TAC life support mod for KSP, which by the way, like I said
Hmm.
earlier, is one of my favorite mods because I'm like Dean. He mentioned that he really likes logistics, and I'm the same way. I kind of want the game to really challenge me and force me to like plan ahead with what I'm bringing with me and what I can resupply. I know you mentioned there's a few things that are still being talked about, but it's too early to mention. Is life support something that we can expect to see in Kitten Space Agency in some form?
Oh, I hope so.
I do too.
Yeah, I hope so. Dean and I have talked about things that we'd love to be in there, and life support's one of them for sure. Yes. Um, if it makes it, it makes it. Yeah, no, we've definitely talked about it. Oh yeah, you could have life support, even a basic rudimentary system, and like some people don't like it. Okay, well, add the option to turn it off. It's
Yeah,
easy, right?
a little
That's really
toggle.
easy
Yeah.
to do. Exactly. Yes, I hope so because I've built. I mean, TAC LS, I actually inherited. I didn't write it originally, but um, I really liked that. I really liked that aspect. I created another mod, in fact, that what was it called? Deep Freeze. I created a mod called my second mod that I created was Deep Freeze, um, which actually cryogenically freezes the Kerbal so you don't use your life support.
I have seen that one.
So I created that because I really was into life support. I really liked the extra complexity of planning to take the resources with you. And then I thought, yeah, what happens when you're going to those? I'd always run out, right? So that's why I created Deep Freeze. So okay, let's put them to sleep, even though it's all sci-fi fantasy. Let's put them to sleep, and then they can sleep the whole way there and not use any resources. Um, so yes, I hope we'll, yes, definitely would love, yes, I think we definitely need it. We definitely want it. Um, so I hope so. Yes.
I hope so too.
As long as the project keeps going, then yes.
One of my favorite memories from playing Kerbal Space Program, and I go off and on. Sometimes I'll play it for several months and then I won't touch it for 6 months to a year, and then I'll get into a mode where I'm playing it nonstop again for another month or two. But one of my favorite memories of playing it is using Tech Life Support, and I would set up outside Duna, like a mining colony that was also kind of like a refueling station for life support supplies, and I had this giant space station that
Yeah.
was kind of cobbled together from different launches. And I don't know, I that's one of my favorite memories for it. So I'm really, really happy to hear that that's at least being talked about.
Oh,
But
for sure. Yeah, definitely want to have that.
yeah. And there was also a quasi debate about whether or not the real solar system that's been constructed, which looks amazing, whether or not it will be used for KSA. And it's been confirmed since that custom system is going to be built. Um, are you able to tell us anything about that custom system?
No, we haven't even
Fair.
started talking about it, to be honest. Um, yes, we don't want it to be the real solar system, but it's not to say that we'll probably just continue shipping the real solar system as an option because we've already got what we've already built, right? But at some point in time, we'll stop spending any time on it, and I think we're pretty close to that already. Black Rack, he was talking about doing some more stuff. I think we talked about doing rings, and I think that's going to happen because we really want them. Um, but then we were like, what else? Like he was talking about doing all these other things, and we're like, you know what? At a point in time, we're going to stop. We're not going to have this solar system, so we'll have to start making up planets. And I think there's a plan to start something in the new year around building some new system that will be part of the game. Um, but I suspect we'll keep shipping the one that we've got as well. Why not? It's already there. It's not a big deal. Maybe as a mod because the whole system is a mod anyway. So we built it as a mod. So the files are all just a mod. So you could just replace them. And as people have done, I saw someone built the whole KSP system already, right? Um, I don't know how people find the time, but
And it
just
was
blown
so
away by
fast.
it.
It was within like a
I
week
know.
that was out.
It just blows me away how people are so creative and have so much time on their hands. I wish I had that much spare time. Um,
And
but
someone's
yeah,
already done a really great write-up on like how to create different biomes. So people are already making biomes on these custom planets that they're making, which again, like you said,
yeah,
that's fast.
it's pretty impressive. I think, yeah, at some point, I think it'll be next year we'll start building that system. But no, we haven't really talked about any of it yet.
Do you think that the real solar system will end up being maybe an interstellar location? A lot of people have
Well,
theorized
it could
that.
be. Well, it could be. Why not? Like, yeah. I mean, eventually, the whole Kepler system setup that we've done right now doesn't preclude having other systems. Right now, it's the sphere of influence of the sun is infinite, but you can change that. Um, that's just a config entry. But if you change it to be not infinite when you leave the sun's influence, then nothing happens. So, but it's totally doable that we could add other systems in at a later point. Sure. Yeah.
Is there plans for there to be interstellar systems in general? Or, I mean, obviously through mods and people adding them in themselves, but is that something that would, you think, be included in the vanilla game?
Oh, don't know. We haven't really talked about that,
Fair.
but I mean, maybe eventually. Like I said, there's no real reason why we couldn't add that in. There's no restrictions in the way the game works that would create a problem. Um, that's the great thing about what we're doing. So there's no issue about origin, floating origin or anything like that. You know, everything's been built in a way, so it doesn't really matter. That's why you get the seamlessness that we've got, because you
Which is
don't have
incredible.
to.
The fact that you can switch between ships instantly blew me away because I was okay. Everybody said that in the town halls and everybody was talking about how it's going to be seamless, seamless, seamless. And I thought, okay, maybe just no loading screens, but there might be a little stutter or a little, but there's nothing. It's absolutely
No,
instantaneous, and that
yeah,
I've said it in several of my videos. I'm sure people are tired of hearing me say it, but it is really impressive.
that's the beauty of Brutal. It's because we don't have to deal with a game engine, so there's no origin 000, and and it's not all floats. It's doubles because we made it so. So everything's in doubles. Um, and we created that environment, the whole universe itself. So yeah, there's no lag, there's no loading, it's just there. It's just not being rendered when you're not close to it. That's it. Um, does it have to load it in? Sure, but it's all written directly to the GPU, and we don't have all that bloat that comes with loading assets and loading um, components that come with a game engine and stuff like that. We only need to do what we need to do, and that's part of this whole parts rendering system. Was why it took so long before we started getting into the different part systems like we're doing now with mass and everything. Is we actually see the first problem we're going to solve is the rendering side of it, so that it all renders really efficiently. So that's driven that was the first thing that they that got solved. Is like, so um, having it just send the stuff to the GPU, and if there's five of them, well, it's only one. The GPU only needs one, and then it draws five instances of it. Um, but that's doable because we're writing directly to the GPU ourselves.
Which is really cool. Yeah, the idea of just rendering in one and then, kind of pasting it where you need it. Very
Yeah,
cool.
you
Yeah.
just yeah, it's just sending it to the buffer in the GPU here's, and then it's like there's one here, and there's one here, and there's one here, one here. The GPU draws it.
That's awesome. It really is fascinating to hear about, and I'm excited to see what else comes out of Brutal because I'm sure, once again more people get into modding it, there's going to be some really
Yep,
impressive stuff that comes
I
out of it.
reckon there will be. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
And Dina said that he would like to have KSA put more of a spotlight on the myriad of people who are more behind the scenes, so to speak, like the mission controllers and the grounds crew and all of the people that make spaceflight possible that you don't get to see, not
Yep.
just astronauts. Uh, I know I'm still putting the cart before the horse a little bit, but are you able to share any of the plans that have been talked about, maybe for how that's going to be accomplished, or what would you at least personally like to see happening to that end?
Oh, I think what Dean's talking about there is more of the management side. You know, um, not just having the astronauts, but actually having all of the other staff as well, potentially. I mean, no, we haven't really talked about it in a lot of detail, but perhaps you have engineers and scientists and whatever else that you have to have, not just on the flights like you did in Kerbal. Like there was still the scientist and the engineer and the pilot, right? But having the same kind of thing on the ground as well. So you need the people to actually build the rocket, right? So you'll need kittens on the ground to research stuff, and so on. I think that's what he's talking. And then he's really into that mod, with the ribbons. I forget what it was called. I remember I played with it once too in KSP1. I forget what it was called. They would get awards for going places and stuff like that. We've talked about a lot more of that kind of stuff with the kittens being able to, yeah, they've got a like a career history that says where they've been and what they've done, and that's not just the ones that have gone out on the ships, but also the ones working at home. He discovered this bit of science. This kitten did this. Um,
Which will just make losing them
yeah,
all the more devastating.
exactly. I think that's the plan, right? And then we haven't talked about they don't die. Um, not saying they don't, right? We've talked about should they die or not? Do they have 9 lives or not?
That was
Um,
something someone mentioned. The 9 lives thing, I think, is fun.
that would be cool. So maybe that is something we work into it somehow, right? So they have 9 lives. They don't die; they get injured
Yeah,
or something, right? Yeah,
like
that
Spartans
kind
from
of thing.
Halo, right? They never get killed.
Yeah,
They're always just missing.
that's right. They've gone missing. They've been injured. They're on your injury list for X weeks or whatever, that kind of thing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that'd be cool. That'd be pretty cool. They had 9 lives, right? That'd be,
Yeah,
yeah. Let's see what happens. Like we've talked about all that kind of stuff, but we haven't written any of it down. It's like, well, it's organic. It's an indie game, right?
right.
So unlike the AAA titles where everything was KSP was planned to the nth degree, and you spend a lot of time designing stuff. We tended to spend a lot more time doing stuff instead of planning and designing it. But we have the conversations, and you know, we talk about things and whatnot. And we sit on Discord all day talking while we're working,
Yeah,
because we sit in a separate Discord server that's just for staff, and yeah, we spend all day chatting to each other online because we're spread out. Like Stefan's in Los Angeles and I'm in Australia, and um, Simon's in another part of New Zealand, and we've got the other what's his name over in Gassan's in France. Oh, sorry, Blackrock's in France, and whatnot. So we're spread out, right? And I'm quite used to that. That was KSP and KSP2 as well. So yeah, we just sort of chat all day online about these things, but we don't spend time writing it all down and whatnot.
well, my final question is if you were able to just put magically one feature into KSA, what would that be? Feasible or not, whether or not this is actually something that could be achieved. What was your dream feature from Kerbal Space Program that never came to fruition?
Oh, jeez, dream feature. Probably live support.
Yeah.
There you go. Because it was never actually put in. It was just a mod. Yes, I think so. Another really cool one actually was my research bodies one. I would really love to do that. So research bodies mod that I did was like you start the game and you can only see Earth and the Moon, and that's it. And you would have to you could build. I added a thing in KSP where it added a ground telescope facility to the KSA case to the. It actually created a facility that was a ground telescope, and then you could start research contracts that then found other bodies.
Which is so
And you'd
cool.
say
Yeah.
it would say, "Oh, I found a body," and then you go, "Oh, what's that?" And then you have to start another contract to actually work out where it was, and then you could aim a telescope at it, and you could look at it, and it would be this blurry dot, and you could send up a telescope into orbit, um, and aim it at it and get a better picture, and then it would become less blurry, and you would know more about it. Um, what's its has it got an atmosphere, that kind of thing. So yes, I built that mod. I'd love to be able to do that too. So you discover the planets, you do research to find out more about them, and then you send a mission there to learn even more about it. Because like I grew up, um, Neil Armstrong walked on the moon, and then we had the Cassini missions and the missions to Saturn and the outer planet and the gas giants, Jupiter, and the Titan and Io, and all the discoveries that were made by NASA, by Voyager and whatnot. And it was like just that age of discovery and wonder of like something totally new. So I'd love to be able to add that aspect to the gameplay, I think, where you discover things as you go. You learn new technologies as you go. You advance technologies, and you you are able to build more advanced vehicles and do more research and explore. I think to me that's one of the great things of the exploration and that sense of discovery. Yeah, I think I'd love to add that.
That's a great answer. When I was talking with Shadowzone, we had talked about some features, and it was basically that. And I was unaware of those mods, which I will link those mods down in the description below for anybody that wants to try them out. I plan to install them this weekend, uh, and play them. But yeah, we were talking about. I'd mentioned I'd wanted a telescope program similar to what you just described, and he said, "Oh, wouldn't it be cool if they were you didn't see anything except the moon and they were blurry." Uh, and yeah, that already exists, and I'm really excited to play it this weekend. I'm
I
looking
watched
forward
you
to
talking to him about that, and I went, "These guys don't know about my mods."
it. I hadn't seen that one, and I wish I had because I was thinking I was like that would be just so cool, and I hadn't thought about making them blurry before you found them, but that makes total sense, and just like you said, it adds that kind of element of discovery and gives you a
Yeah.
reason to send up like a. I really loved sending up satellites, so the comms mod before it was officially in the game, and then once it got added to the game, sending up satellites like a rocket with 10 satellites on it that would just launch out and then
Mm.
go to its next destination and launch out more. So the idea of doing that with telescopes are another reason to do that. Yeah, that's a great
That
answer.
telescope discovery thing, and I remember there was another mod, I can't remember what it was called, where ScanSat, where you'd get satellites to scan the surface.
Yeah,
Otherwise, you can't see the surface, right? So you would have to put something in orbit and scan the whole planet to find where the resources were and things like that. So
that's right.
that's sort
Yes,
of another extension to that as well. I'd love to be able to add that into that telescope mix as well. So yeah, you see it and then it's blurry and everything, and you get a better picture, better picture. You send something there with a satellite, like we did with Mars, and actually map the surface, right? And then go, oh, there's resources here, here, here. Now I can go build a base there
yeah,
and extract whatever, right? Yeah, that'd be great.
and there's more reason to use probes because the one thing I always felt like with KSP is there was no reason to not just send a Kerbal half the time, unless you were trying to do
Yep.
like a very min-maxed mission as light as possible, most delta V. Then you might want to send a probe, but I always wish there was a little bit more reason to send probes.
Well, that's where that whole, you got to have life support. So you have to send a probe because you don't have the technology yet to support life to get there, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Add
yeah,
that into the mix for the hardcore player, right? I mean, I'm throwing this out there as a hardcore player that's played KSP for like over 15 years or whatever. But for the beginner player, well, you want to make it a lot easier, right?
right.
But yeah, yes, you would have
Like you
different
said, you could add like a toggle.
difficulty elements. Exactly. Different difficulty elements to the gameplay. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, I love that. Well, all right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and chat with me today. It's been a lot of fun hearing about your experiences, and I honestly can't wait to see what you and the team come out with next. So, thank you.
Cool. Thanks for having me. It's been great. Thanks.